Tell me right now, in your opinion, or what you're seeing in the market, what is the biggest issue that you're currently facing in the real estate market right now?
Inventory, 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 and I mean
Inventory.
good inventory. The last 2 months I've seen a nice uptick in buyers, getting more ready to purchase and looking at houses. Maybe that has to do with the recent slight decrease in interest rates from, their 20-year high, I would say. You're more experienced there. But there's just not enough good inventory out there. And I think that has a lot to do with people, not willing to move from their 3% interest rate they got in 21. So
Yeah.
that's definitely our biggest issue right now.
Yeah, I was at a conference back in October, the beginning of October, and the chief economist of Fannie Mae was there, and 95% of all mortgages in the US are sub 4%. So that's a lot of people sitting on sub 4% mortgages and that they don't want to move, right? But there's strategies that we can use to help alleviate some of those pain points, right? So I think it's educating our buyers and getting them to understand that there are certain things that we can do when it comes to you as an agent negotiating, seller concessions to put towards buy downs, or there's a ton of equity in homes right now. So if you have somebody that's got $250,000 of equity in a house, or 150, whatever, if they've had the house for more than 5-6 years, right, they've gained a ton of equity. Maybe more than that, maybe more than 5-6 years, but if they've been sitting on their property, because the home appreciation has exponentially increased, you can take a lot of the equity from those homes. It can pay off all of their debt, put a nice little down payment on the house, and still have a fairly probably better total payment than what it was if they were just to use that $200,000 just to put down on the house and still have all those other debts. So there's ways that we can, that we need to educate our buyers to let them know that they don't have to be stuck in those houses if they do want to move. But of course, you do have the inventory problem, as you say. So some people aren't going to be willing to budget off of that. So
I just think people at this point are, they're not going to pay, top of the market in that neighborhood when it hasn't been renovated since 2004. That's not happening anymore. So, I think that's our biggest issue. It's, they're walking away from these houses because there's too much updating needed or too much work to be needed. So that's a lot of what I'm seeing as well.
Interesting. So how do you think, when it comes to, and I was saying this months ago, when people say, well, I'm going to sit on the sidelines and wait for rates to come down, right? What is your take on sitting on the sidelines waiting for rates to come down? I know what my take is. I want to hear yours.
I heard that from several people in, I would say, end of 21, maybe early 22, when rates hit, I don't know, 4.5 or whatever it was, 5, and people freaked out, and values still increased 10 to 20%, and now we're sitting at, I don't know, a month ago we were at 8.5% and severely increased values. If people didn't watch the market, at least in our market, in the Charlotte metro area, back in 21 and 22, institutional investors were purchasing almost everything. What was it? It's like a 25% number, whatever that is. Those houses are never going to hit the market again. So that's inventory lost. So we're not even building houses quick enough to match the inventory problem. And what I think is going to happen personally.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you there, but that's a phenomenal point, Vito, that I never really thought about. If you have these institutional investors buying, they're not going to be living in them for 3 or 4 years, not going to be selling them.
They're not even living in them at all.
They're going to be sitting on them forever and just renting them out. Yeah. So I never really thought that once those investors, I know that they're buying a lot of them, but I just never kind of thought about that. That's a phenomenal point, where these investors, they're not unloading these houses anytime soon.
No, exactly. But what's going to happen is, and when I'm going to go over what's happening, what I'm seeing, and what's going to happen. Maybe I'm not, I can't predict that. I can't predict things. If I had a crystal ball, it'd be great. But once rates do come down, and people that bought in the last year and a half, they're going to refinance their rates, right? Down to 5.5, whenever that day is. Who knows? Could be a year, could be 10 years, who knows? But once those numbers come down, the institutional investors will come back out of the woodwork because they're borrowing money. They're borrowing much more money at a lower rate so they can purchase more homes. And then, well, they'll purchase them cash and refinance them, right? So they'll eat up another portion of that inventory that'll never hit the market. And now, right in Mooresville, right on one of the busiest streets or highways in the area, 150 and Perth Road, there's a huge neighborhood going in, all single family homes, no townhomes, not all rentals.
Oh
they
my
are
God.
not selling one home. So they are keeping the entire inventory of homes to themselves to rent out. And probably, if I had to guess, they'll probably hold it and then sell it to a institutional investor that will take the entire neighborhood.
How many units? How many total homes? Do
I
you know
don't know the exact number, but it's a good amount of land, and they've already completed a few. It's on the corner of Perth Road and 150. It's wild.
I mean, I've heard of that, right? And I've read about it, and I haven't actually seen a subdivision around here yet that's doing it, but that's
There's a
interesting
few.
for you.
There's a few.
Man, God.
So this inventory, now we're building them, but we're not even selling them. So the inventory is still going to stay low. I don't know. I'm scared to think what it would take for the inventory to hit like a year or a year and a half mark. It's just like, what is it? Does that look bad or does that look good for everybody?
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
I want it to be good for everybody, and I want people to be homeowners.
Right. No, for sure. And there was an article, and it may even be something that was going off of some of the questions from the conference, that it could easily take 5 to 8 years for inventory to potentially shore up, where it's, we could potentially be in a somewhat normalized real estate environment where it's, there's supply and demand is kind of equalized, because it's way off right now. And to hear that's kind of scary, right? Because you can't build them fast enough, because there's really,
and you don't want them to build them fast enough either, because then you're talking about quality. The builder is only as good as their subcontractors. So
very true.
We have to build more houses, but we're also never going to make more land. Whatever is left is left. That's it. So what I would say, it's just, and we don't know what part of the, in 8 years, how many more people in the population will be in a position to buy houses. Right. Is it going to be more? And then the average, what was the average that most people stayed in their homes? About 7 years. Is that going to change? Yeah. Is that going to change now? Now that we have people that are sub 4%, are we going to stay in the house 15 years?
Right.
Are we staying at 30?
Yeah, good questions. Right.
So it's just too many unknowns.
All very good questions. Yeah, man, I have seen it go. It's becoming a renter's nation instead of like a homeowner's nation. Right. And that's scary, man. That's scary. You want people to purchase homes and be a part of, the American dream and all that. And it's just kind of scary seeing what's happening with the real estate. So, but you bring up some very good points.
Yeah, and the one thing about renting, it's sometimes better to rent. At some areas right now it's cheaper to rent, and that's fine. But your rent payment doesn't stay the same. As you know, typically if you get a fixed mortgage, your mortgage payment's going to stay the same. Minus taxes and insurance. Right. As long as the taxes don't go up significantly over a period of time, then you're fine. But otherwise, rent payment's not going to change. Typically, it doesn't go down historically. So.
Right. That's for sure. All right. And okay, now, I mean, this is all awesome information, brother. I appreciate, you kind of made me think about, house homes are not going to be back on the market again.
They're never going to be back on the market.
So I have another question that I want to run by you. I mean, there has been a lot of media attention on the $1.8 billion settlement for the buyer side being paid for by the seller and all this, that, and the other. So I'm interested to see or hear what your take is on it, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. When it comes to that.
I don't think it will be indifferent. I think there will be some change. I don't know how quickly that will happen. I'm already, even from the beginning, every single buyer consultation I have, it's always the same thing. My fee is this, you're paying me this fee. I don't tell anybody I'm working for free. Seller's not paying, you're paying me as the buyer, you're paying me. But now when I'm going into listings, and previously when I was going into listings, even on the North Carolina contract, you have the choice to, my fee is this, and we can offer whatever you want to a buyer agent to cooperate on the broker side, right?
Right.
But, and I'm still saying the same things, but a seller does not have to offer any compensation.
Right.
Prior to the lawsuit, it was $1 was the lowest you can go. And there was sometimes very rarely it was that low. But now I'm going into meetings with sellers, and we're talking about it. And not most of them, but some of them do know about it. And I'm letting them know that it's there because it's my duty to be transparent.
Right.
And sellers, again, like I said, if you don't want to offer a buyer agency commission, that's fine. But there may or may not be repercussions. Right? As a realtor, I have to show a house no matter what the compensation is for me from the listing firm. Like I can't say, oh, we can't see this house because the firm, because they're not offering me compensation. If my buyer can't afford it and they love the house, oof, that's the standstill right there, right?
Yeah.
We're in like you got to get creative, or it's going to be interesting. That's all I can say. But I am going into listing presentations, being completely transparent about the lawsuit. I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. And we have to move forward and I guess educate our sellers and hope that all of us as realtors are, being completely ethical. It's the best way I can put it.
For sure. For sure. I could see where some realtors would be like, if they see the agreement and if the seller's not going to be paying and they're just going to like keep on driving by, I can see that. I'm sure that's going to happen with some people.
I sure hope not. But that's the conversation you have to have with sellers, because you're not. Well, while I can find a buyer, I'm not. I can't find every buyer that's looking at. It's just impossible. The amount of people around. So I can't guarantee what some other agent will or won't do. I can only guarantee what I can do for you. That's it.
Yeah, I got you. I got you, man. Good stuff. It's going to be interesting to see. I've been doing this this year's 20 years, man. And it's always been. There's never been an issue. It's always been.
It's never been talked about.
It's never ever been.
And now it's talked about.
In this. It's come to light in a big way.
And it's fine. It's fine. Just sure. Educate your buyers, educate your sellers, talk to them, be transparent, and this is your business, so run it as you see fit. But it's always going to be, for me, it's always going to be negotiable. It doesn't matter. So we full steam ahead. Buyers will buy and sellers will sell.
So what do you think is going to happen? We're at the end of 2023 already. My God, it's flown by.
I know. That's
what do you think is going to happen in 2024 when it comes to inventory? Just the market in general. I'll kind of get your final takes on what do you think is going to happen next year?
Yeah. I feel really, really, really good about 2024, considering
I love it.
The amount of people that are reaching out and having conversations and even looking at homes right now to purchase. Like I said, we're seeing homes, but we're not pulling the trigger because they're not in love. And I can't have them have buyer's remorse. That's just not my thing. Like, I need you to love the house. I'm not paying. I tell them all the same thing. I'm not paying your mortgage. I'm not paying your utility bills. I'm not sending your kids to school. Like, I'm not doing any of that. I need you to love this house and the neighborhood where you are. That's it.
Right.
So, the fact that these people are coming out of the woodworks and ready to go and ready to buy, I feel it's exciting for me. It's exciting for the industry, and it's exciting for people to get a house. But I have no idea what's going to happen with inventory. I don't.
Right.
I really
Nobody
don't.
does. Nobody does.
I don't.
Yeah.
Typically spring is the best time. I don't know, man. I don't.
I got you.
I want to
That's
say
the
there's going to be inventory, but I just don't.
right. Right. Well, good stuff, my man. I appreciate it. I just want to keep it short and sweet, man. You've answered some awesome questions, and you've kind of made me think about something too when it comes to that investor stuff. So I appreciate that. But man, where are you located? You in social media? Where can somebody follow you, find you, reach out
Find
to
me
you?
on
All that good
Instagram. You
stuff.
can find me on Facebook, mostly under Vito Sells Charlotte. I got my personal profiles out there. You can find me on onecommunityrealestate.com, LeeBrownandAssociates.com.
Nice.
Just excited to be in the area, and I love what I do, and
Awesome.
get to work.
All right, brother. Well, happy holidays to you, and we'll do. This was fun. We'll do another one here in maybe another couple months, and we'll kind of talk about what we'll recap what we talked about on this one. So
yeah, absolutely, man. Happy holidays to you too.
all right, brother. Take care.
Have a good day.
All right.